What's up, everybody? It's Bill Colarulo, and this is Closing Arguments. You can hear me every weekday from 2 to 6 with my man Ricky Batalico, producer Silvana Kelleher on 97.5 The Fanatic. But at the end of every week, I bring you my closing arguments. We look back at some of our big topics throughout the week, and I give you my final opinions. So let's start with the big story of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles. They opened up their season at Lincoln Financial Field against the Dallas Cowboys. One of the weirdest games I can remember. Like, we know week one is always going to be a little bit weird. I said that going into this game. It's always hard to judge. The 8.5-point spread scared me a little bit. I thought the Eagles would win, but I wasn't sure that they were going to blow them out. You never know how things go in week one. And it got weird right away. On the opening kickoff, unfortunately, you see Ben Van Sumeren, who I was excited to see this year. If you listen to our show, you know, Andrew DeCecco has been really high on this guy. But I was excited to see him this year because of the fact they made him a true fullback. They were going to use him as a fullback, and I wanted to see, how is this offense going to look with the traditional fullback in front of Saquon Barkley? And then, unfortunately, Ben Van Sumeren goes down, out for the year. On the opening kickoff, you could see the look of disbelief on his face. But then things got even weirder because before the first defensive snap, as Ben Van Sumeren's on the ground getting attended to by the team doctors, Jalen Carter gets ejected for spitting on Dak Prescott. Now, at first blush, I'm thinking, why would he even think about spitting on Dak Prescott? And let me get this out of the way first. Unacceptable. He should have never have done it. It's a classless move. You got to be better not only as a person, but as a teammate. You are too important to this team to risk getting thrown out of that football game. But we found out a little bit later that Dak Prescott spit in his direction. Now, he didn't spit on him, but Jalen Carter said to Dak, "Did you just try to spit on me?" So at least now we understand why he even thought to spit on him, but unacceptable. Jalen Carter has to be better, and it put his team at a real disadvantage in that football game. Maro Ajomo and Jordan Davis only played 37% of the snaps last season. Both of those guys played over 87% of the snaps in this football game because once Jalen Carter got ejected, they had to play a ton of reps. But not only that, think about what Jalen Carter means to this defense. He is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Everything is about him in the middle of that defense. He creates interior pressure. It has a ripple effect throughout the defense. It's going to help the other defensive tackles. It's going to help the edge rushers, the linebackers, the corners, the safeties. He needs to be smarter. He cannot get thrown out of that football game. But the defense as a whole, I actually thought they did okay considering everything you were dealing with. Not only did you not have Jalen Carter, you had Jahad Campbell, rookie, play a ton of reps. You had Andrew Makuba, your second-round draft pick, who missed a lot of time in camp with an injury, play a ton of reps. And you got nothing from that other outside cornerback position. That was a major question mark coming into the training camp, into the game, and it still hasn't been answered. Adoree Jackson was getting torched by CeeDee Lamb. They put in Jacorian Bennett. That didn't really do much better either. They got a real problem at that other outside corner. But even in spite of all of that, the Eagles defense gave up 0 points in the second half of that football game. Think about that. 0 points. Now, I know it was weird. There was the lightning delay and the over an hour delay, but still, the defense did their job. You give up 0 points the whole second half, you're going to win a lot of football games. But I thought the most underrated play of the game, Zach Bond chasing down Miles Sanders on his 49-yard run. A lot of guys would have seen the running back taken off and said, no way I'm going to get to him. Zach Bond hustled. He showed his speed and athleticism. He ends up catching him from behind, bringing him down to the ground inside the red zone. And then what happens? A few plays later, Jahad Campbell gets the forced fumble. Quinyon Mitchell recovers it, and you win that football game because you won the turnover battle. Dallas, that was the only time they didn't score when they got to the red zone. A really big play by Zach Bond, and then followed up by the forced fumble with Jahad Campbell and Quinyon Mitchell. And that's what's got us so excited. Anyone who was down at training camp watching Jahad Campbell was so excited because he has two things that are very rare. Not only is he a freak athlete, you saw him have the ability to get deep and cover that seam down the field and get in the way on that pass breakup. He then follows that up, showing his physicality at the line of scrimmage, forcing a fumble on Miles Sanders. A lot to like about Jahad Campbell. I thought Drew Makuba, the rookie, played well also, but the Eagles have to figure out that other cornerback position. So that's the defense. Let's jump over to the offense. I wasn't expecting this to be the greatest show on turf. It was week 1. They didn't play in the preseason, but they looked good early. They scored on all 3 of their first drives. I thought Kevin Patullo was good early, mixing things up, the run, the pass. He got the ball to his running backs out of the backfield, all good. But you got to get the ball to your weapons sooner. You can't wait until late in the fourth quarter for A.J. Brown to get his first target. You got to do things. You got to get him involved early, little short passes, maybe a slant, whatever you got to do to get him involved early. But with all that being said, the operations were clean. There was no illegal formations, no illegal motions, no delay of game penalties, all positive signs for your first-time offensive coordinator, your first time ever calling plays. I'll take it. But the MVP of the game was Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts, what he did in this football game, he was smart with the football. He didn't force anything down the field. I know he had that one big pass to Jahan Dotson, which was beautiful. Didn't force the ball down the field other than that play. In fact, I think everything was 11 yards or less. Not ideal. You want to see that passing game evolve, but he took what the defense was giving him, and he used his legs when things broke down. Look at his touchdown runs. Both of them were scrambles. They weren't design runs. You know how demoralizing that is for a defense? So demoralizing that when you have everything covered, you all did your job. Jalen Hurts breaks the pocket and he's able to score a touchdown or pick up a first down on a third down. That's what makes him so damn good. And Jalen Hurts did what he always does, found a way to win. Look, good teams, they find ways to win football games. Bad teams, they find ways to lose football games. And what we learned about this Eagles team last year, when they won 16 of their final 17 games, including Super Bowl 59, they find ways to win, and it all starts with the quarterback. Now, they got to get better. Both sides of the football have to get better. I think they will. I think they'll evolve. I don't expect A.J. Brown to only get one target against the Kansas City Chiefs next weekend. I think you'll see A.J. Brown probably get a ton of targets, especially in that first quarter, to get him into a rhythm. But all in all, solid game. I liked what I saw from Jahan Dotson. I've been saying I think Dotson is going to be your breakout player this year. And I don't expect him to go for 1,000 yards. There's only so much to go around on the offense. But what you need from Jahan Dotson is exactly what he gave you in this football game. When his number's called, he's got to make the play. That was my biggest problem with Quez Watkins going back a couple years ago. Even though he was the third wide receiver, when his number was called, he didn't seem to answer. He dropped that big pass in Super Bowl 57, where if he catches it, not an easy catch, but if he catches it, they probably win that game. We saw him have some turnovers in that week against Washington late in that 2022 season. So when your number's called as the wide receiver 3 on this football team, you got to deliver. Jahan Dotson did it on Thursday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. And he also did it last playoffs, if you remember. He had a big catch in the Super Bowl. He had a big catch in the postseason. I think it may have been against the Rams. Drawing a blank now on what it was. He had a nice touchdown catch. It was either in the wild card or the division series. But Dotson has to make sure he answers. So we'll see what happens this week. I'm expecting them to come out a little bit better and more polished in week 2 against the Chiefs, who dropped their game in Brazil against the Chargers. They didn't look great. They did not look great. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But let's jump over to our other team in the city right now, the Philadelphia Phillies. They haven't really been getting a lot of attention now that the Eagles have started, but they just took 2 of 3 in Milwaukee against a really good Brewers team. That was a big series win. They now sit comfortably in the 2 seed of the National League. It's important. You want to get that first round bye because you have to be able to set up this pitching staff and your pitching rotation in the postseason the way you want. And then they had a big win last night down in Miami. They crushed the Marlins. And it looks like we got an everyday center fielder. Harrison Bader, man, has been great in the field. He's been great at the plate. His energy has been great for this clubhouse. I've been critical of Dave Dombrowski for his prior trade deadline acquisitions. Looks like Harrison Bader may have been a home run, no pun intended. And we know what he got with Joan Duran. So we'll see. It's not ideal that Aaron Nola is not pitching well right now. But if Ranger can keep pitching the way he's pitching, Christopher Sanchez can keep pitching the way he's pitching, and Jesus Luzardo, who's looked good in his last couple of starts. That's 3 quality starters. Anything can happen if this lineup gets hot come October. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'll be coming to you every single Friday, but make sure you're listening Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m., unfiltered with me, Ricky Bo, our Birds insider, Andrew DeCecco's with us all the time. If you ever listen to him, best Eagles reporter in the city. I love what AD brings to the show. And of course, our producer, Silvana Kelleher. But we're having a lot of fun and we're trying to build something special. I know all of you are over Philadelphia sports talk that's all about clickbait and rage bait to try to get callers to call in just to yell at the host. That's not what we do. We give you real sports talk, real sports analysis. So if you've made the switch, thank you. If you haven't, tell your family and friends. Make the switch. 97.5 The Fanatic. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for watching Unfiltered on YouTube. You could like and subscribe down here. You could also see our other shows over here. Go ahead and watch them all. We love when you watch. The one thing, hey, you could also catch us on 97.5 The Fanatic, 97.5thefanatic.com, and NBC Sports Philadelphia. See you there.